Have you ever felt like you've been doing everything right? You tracked your calories, you were working out, you were eating clean, and your body still wouldn't shift? Today, we're going to unpack for you in this episode why diets simply do not work if you are in a stress state, and maybe your body is not working against you, but it's actually trying to protect you.
I think we've all been in that situation where we think that we can just push through our stress, our chronic fight or flight, our survival mode, and that we can overpower that and lose weight. But in this video, we want to break down some of the science behind what's actually going on in your body and maybe just reassure you a little bit that it's not a willpower issue. It's not that your body's broken. It's that when your body is in chronic survival mode, it doesn't function the same way. So what happens when you're in survival mode, or you're in fight or flight, you're really high stress, and that can come from emotional stress, life stress. That can also come from under eating. That can come from over exercising. There's a lot of ways to put stress on your body. But what happens is your body is running so highly on cortisol and adrenaline. And these hormones cortisol is a hormone, and it affects the rest of your hormones in your body, especially like how your thyroid functions, which is really tied to weight loss. So essentially what it does is it tells your body to hold on to fat because it thinks that it's in survival mode. It thinks that there's a crisis, and it makes it really, really hard for your body to actually let go of fat.
Yeah, in all honesty, I think too, this whole survival mode thing got a really bad rap a few years ago where people were saying, like, your body's in survival mode, you just need to eat more, right? And there is a very real case when people are chronically under eating where that is true. But I think for a lot of people who are kind of tracking their food and focusing on nourishment, that's not necessarily the case. But the key thing with survival mode is signaling to your body that it is safe, and that will allow all of your hormones to function optimally. And that's what's going to make it easier for you to actually lose weight. And so it's not about just eating more if you're not addressing the kind of underlying things that are signaling to your body to be in that chronic stress state. And that's kind of what we want to break down for you today.
I think why this is such a tricky subject is that a lot of women, or just people in general, don't actually know that they're in survival mode when they are. I've mentioned this before, but I've been working with a somatic coach, and when I've been learning about the science behind the nervous system and the body and all of the actual science, it's made me kind of reflect on the last 10 years, even more of my life, and realize that I've been living in a chronic state of fight or flight. And I think a lot of people sometimes think no, my life is fine. I have stress here and there. I don't have trauma, or I don't have these big crazy issues. And you don't need to have crazy health issues or crazy huge things happen to be living in a state of fight or flight, or in a state of survival mode. So that's what's really tricky. So just some symptoms. I want to walk through some symptoms that you might be in a state of chronic flight or fight and you might not actually know. So some of those are waking up really anxious. The second you open your eyes, if you're experiencing anxiety, that's actually not normal. And that could be a sign that you're in a state of survival mode. Having tons of sugar cravings, really intense fatigue, bloating, insomnia, digestive issues. So this is where it gets really complicated, is because it's a little bit all over the map. And so I think a lot of people look to blame their digestive issues, for example, on the foods they're eating, or they look to blame their sleep issues on, oh, well, maybe I was just scrolling on my phone too close to bedtime. Or maybe they blame fatigue on, oh, I've just been really busy, I haven't been sleeping that much. But sometimes it's so much deeper than that. And so I really think it takes being pretty self-aware and being able to step back and do a diagnosis of your life and your habits, and really ask yourself, is this normal? Am I in survival mode? And just want to call this out because I think this shows up for a lot of women who are high achieving, people who have, the boss babe, people who are maybe a little bit perfectionist mentality, hustle, 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 grind, 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 these type A women. and I've been there. I think that they struggle with this, and they're the exact type of person who often thinks like, no, I have it all together. Like I'm doing all the things, like I'm so on top of my stuff, I'm organized, I'm grinding. So they don't really realize like they're actually the perfect candidate for someone to be maybe in burnout or in survival mode and actually have no idea.
Yeah, I think too with these kinds of things, symptoms often become normalized and people think, oh, it's just a part of life, and it's really not. And I think once you feel what it feels like to actually feel good, you can then kind of reflect and see, wow, I was really in that fight or flight state before. And I think too, with those patterns, in some ways your body associates that stress with safety. It's a form of control. So your baseline of safety is just completely off. So just to break down like a few things, we've talked about this at length in a lot of our other videos. A few things to get you started would be, not having coffee on an empty stomach, getting your circadian rhythm set by looking outside and getting some sunlight first thing in the morning, eating regular, consistent meals that signals to your body that you're safe. Those are a few things, we've talked about this in other videos, but in today's video, we also really want to break down some other tangible things that we have done that have really helped us in that kind of bridge to building safety in our bodies. Because in all honesty, the key for you to lose weight, if you're doing all the things and you're very aware, is not a new diet plan. It is not more discipline. It's creating regulation and safety in your body. So with that, we're just going to kind of kick it off with the first one, which is really paying attention to how you speak to your body. Your body is always listening to you. And if you have issues or health issues and your immediate instinct is to fix or to think that there's something wrong with you, that's actually signaling to your body that it's not safe. So it's really important to kind of reframe your desire to lose weight, not through you need to fix or punish your body. I think it's really great to have goals, but to see it as wanting to nurture your body and give it kind of the foundation of safety.
Yeah, it's so true. And when I look back on my own experience, I think when I was the most dysregulated and living in chronic fight or flight, severely overexercising, undereating, and I still had this mentality that I wanted to lose weight and I couldn't. There's a reason for that, right? Like our bodies are very smart. My cortisol was so high. My body would hang on to fat. And I also didn't have a lot of fat to lose. So again, your body, I think there's so many women who are like, I just need to lose the last 5 pounds and then I'll feel good. It's like, well, maybe you don't actually have 5 pounds to lose, and our bodies are very smart. And it's actually once my nervous system became more regulated and once I started working out less and eating more that I actually started to like naturally lose a lot of inflammation or whatever, your body changes. So this is all just to say that, oftentimes the key to weight loss or changing your body composition, a lot of times it's actually not about weight loss. It's a lot more to do with your body composition, and that has a lot to do with the ratio of fat to muscle that you have. I think women assume I need to lose weight to look a certain way. A lot of times they actually need to just gain muscle and lose a little bit of fat. That's a whole other thing. Maybe we can make another video about that because I think it's something that's really misunderstood. But all this is to say that the key to doing that, if you're in a dysregulated state, is getting regulated. So another step that we've found, I think a lot of women are so quick to track their calories when they're trying to lose weight. And we've found that tracking your nervous system, tracking the sensations in your body, tracking do I feel safe is a much better approach. So some examples of this could be like after you finish a meal, just checking in with your body and asking yourself, like, how do I feel? Track that safety. Like, how does my heart rate feel? Does my chest feel tight? Does my stomach feel in knots? Maybe it's checking in with yourself in the morning a few times throughout the day and really getting connected to your body. I think we're all so used to just moving through our day on autopilot that we kind of forget. Even sometimes when I'm at my desk working, I'll be like this, and that's often a sign of tension in your body. It's stress in your body. And I have to remind myself, like mental cues, like, okay, whoa, I'm safe. I can relax. Like I can drop my shoulders. So really checking in with your body and tracking how you're feeling in your body as opposed to tracking calories, that's a great way to start.
Yeah, and if you have that foundational belief that your body in its natural state is always trying to heal, you just have to kind of give it. So if you shift in your mind, like it's not something that you have to fix, your body isn't something that's just data that you're trying to manage, it's really allowing your body to be your feedback. So, tracking the feedback it's giving you, I think is a far more powerful way to build consistent habits than just tracking, calories in, calorie out. But number 3, and this is something that I love to do, is kind of a morning nervous system wake up. I've recently been quite into Qigong. And this is something that I kind of came across where I essentially, and I can do a separate reel on exactly what I do, but I essentially start by just, taking a few deep breaths. I jump up and down first for about 20 counts. I wish that I had space for a little trampoline. There's incredible results for lymphatic flow with rebounding, but I don't. So I just jump up and down. And then after about 20 to 40, depending on how much time I have, 20 to 40 counts, I then will start jumping, twisting like this. As I said, I can do a whole separate video. And then I will go into chair pose and I'll move my arms up and down like this. And then I'll do some this way. I'll do kind of a dead man sway, all while breathing really deeply. And then the final one I do is kind of a trunk rotation twist. But I feel like after I do that, the amount of energy that I get from it and just breathing deeply, and wakes up my whole system. It feels as if I drank a coffee in the morning. So that's a really good way to kind of just regulate and start your day connecting and tuning into your body.
Yeah, I love that. That also just reminded me of something that I've been learning in my somatics studies is I think as someone who is very anxious typically, when you're anxious, you run in a state of mobilization. And I think we think like, oh, I just need to calm down. But actually what you need to do is express that energy from your body. So getting movement first thing in the morning, if you're someone who runs a little bit anxious, even it could be limb shaking, it could be walking. It's really good for expelling sort of that anxious energy out of your body, and it's really good for regulating your nervous system. So another thing that we've been challenging ourselves to do this, is eating 1 meal per day without any distractions and in complete silence. I think in our society today, it's so easy to get caught in the cycle of eating your meals in front of the TV or while you're scrolling. It's actually kind of hard to like literally do nothing. I was doing this yesterday when I was eating lunch and I kept wanting to reach my phone. But when you can have no distractions while you're eating and you can have stillness, you really slow down. And stillness is where your body rests. That's like how you get into rest and digest. And it really is good for your digestion. You can focus on chewing your food, eating your food more slowly. This is really, really good for your nervous system. Sometimes I find myself, I'm eating so fast, I have so many distractions, and then I finish a meal and I'm so amped up. And then your body struggles to digest, and that can impact weight loss. That can impact your so many things. So that's a great tip as well.
I'm going to hold my hands up on this one and say that this is very difficult for me. I've not mastered it by any means, but it does create a lot more body awareness. And as I've shared, I've been dealing with some gut issues. And let me just tell you, stillness, chewing your food completely is digestion's best friend. It's very uncomfortable in the beginning, but once you get into the habit of it, you're a lot more aware of your body and, how much food you need. You can absorb more nutrients in that state. It just is all around such a good practice to build that awareness, which is ultimately what's going to allow you to lose weight, right? It's those long-term habits that are repeated consistently over time that's going to change the entire, way that you relate to food and your body. And that's ultimately what will allow you to create sustainable change in your life.
So true. I love it. Okay, so the next one is all about affirmations, but even one step further than affirmations, because I think a lot of people talk about affirmations. The problem and the reason why people don't have much luck with affirmations is because their subconscious doesn't actually believe it. So you have to say affirmations in a way that's like you literally believe what it is that you're saying. And so sometimes I think it can be helpful, instead of just saying like, I am safe, I am loved, like, imagine that you're actually speaking, when you speak these affirmations, speak to your body like you're either speaking to a younger version of yourself or even like you're speaking to your organs, and I'm speaking to my gut, I'm speaking to my gut microbe, I'm speaking to my kidney and my liver, like you are. And sometimes I think that helps to really embody it. But when you can get to a place where you believe the affirmations and you really, really, truly feel it, your body hears you, it's listening. And so, yeah, it's all so connected.
It is so connected. And I think also it's a very natural tendency when, a difficult emotion arises to try to escape it, right? And I think that it leads to a lot of people's habits, whether it be trying to reach for food or control or whatever it is that's putting them into that stress state. If you can really trust that your body is always speaking to you. And I've had to, it's easy to say all this, but when you're really struggling with your health, I can't tell you the impact that I've experienced personally from in my lowest moments where I feel frustrated and confused and fear and all sorts of emotions. If I can just really get into the feeling in my body of like, whatever the reason behind this, I trust that it is trying to teach me something. And that's not to say to escape the feelings that I'm having, but it's to honor and respect my body. And this is kind of into our next point about merging regulation with spirituality. And just, when those feelings arise, letting them rise, not trying to resist them, sitting with them, learning to sit with them, and just, inhale saying like, I trust, and exhale saying that I'm guided. And I really think that this has made a huge impact in the way that I relate to eating habits, my body, and any kind of health challenges that arise.
Yeah, just to wrap it up, like one thing to leave you guys with, disease, the word disease is literally dis-ease in the body. So any type of imbalance or sickness or issue or inability to lose weight, that's coming from the lack of ease in your body. And ultimately, ease is calm, it's peace, it's stillness, and it's safety. And so everything comes back to finding safety in your body, and that means regulating your nervous system. And once you can do that, a lot of the other diseases and issues and stagnant weight will just fall off and everything will fall into place.
Somebody asked me this question that really stuck with me. So I just invite you, before you hop on the next diet plan or quick fix, to, building on Carolyn's point of that disease is quite literally a state of dis-ease. What reality are you creating for yourself in your own mind? Is it one that you have a story, it's difficult for you to lose weight? Just really get clear in your mind about what would be ideal for you, and just be really clear about how you're speaking to yourself. I think that can make a big impact on the actual physical results as well.
All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.